All right, Super Bowl's over. Did you watch the Super Bowl?
I did.
Did you have any interest in the Super Bowl?
This may offend some people, but anybody but the Patriots.
Really?
It's kind of weird. Well, I got a Jags hoodie on today, but I'm an Atlanta Falcons fan and a Jags fan, and I'll never forget.
Never forget.
28-3. House full of people. One of the worst
Just absolutely.
Super Bowls of my life. So, yeah. Anytime it's the Patriots, I'm just,
I didn't really have any interest. Let me get this set up so I know how much time we've spent. I didn't really have any interest. I am a Jags fan. Been here for 20 years. Been interested in the Jags. I guess kind of developed an interest in football, period. And I'm always kind of like a hometown guy. Like even college, I'm like Florida Gators only because they're the closest school. Zero interest other than that. But I get like sort of conference-y. So I was like pulling for the Patriots only because they're in the AFC, like the Jags. I kind of like lean that way. And they're an East Coast team, not a West Coast team. That was kind of my like thing.
Yeah.
It's kind of like
I hear that, but when they won 6 titles, it's just like,
yeah, it's kind of
how about somebody else?
It's kind of like baseball. Like I'm a Tampa Bay Rays fan. Just because I would like by the time I was in high school was in Tampa, so started going to games like on my own time, and so I'm always for that conference.
But it's like the Yankees. It's the Yankees of football is what the Patriots are.
Yeah.
So the Yankees have won.
Think about Tom Brady's
titles.
legacy, man.
Yes, I know. So I like Drake May, but I was really happy to see Sam Darnold.
The good news is
win one after being down and out with so many teams and nobody trusting him, winning 14 games in Minnesota last year, and then coming in and just killing it. I mean, that'll preach, man. Like,
yeah,
if you're ever down in your life, like keep pushing forward, believe in yourself, and he did, and he won. So I was really happy to see.
Yeah, that works.
Sam Darnold win.
That's good. It was a fun game. We had a couple friends and family over. My parents came over, went to their church yesterday, and then they came over. And we hung out all day. I smoked. I stayed up all night, like Saturday. Well, not all night. I stayed up till like midnight with some pork shoulder on the smoker, and then moved it to the oven and woke up at 6 and it was done. So like a 12-hour smoke. So it came out pretty good. I always feel like there's not enough food, even though we only were gonna have like 6 grown-ups there. And then we made this pizza dip, and then we made some mac and cheese that I also smoked on the smoker. So it came out really good. And the thing is, I've like last year I lost 30 pounds, greatly reduced my caloric intake, eat pretty much like healthy foods. And so I don't think I'm going to eat today. I just felt like miserable this morning when I woke up after kind of eating that kind of food. And then we had so much leftovers. So we have a vacuum sealer. So I vacuum sealed basically like 4 big bags of barbecue.
It's fancy.
And put it in the freezer. So now I have like frozen meals like ready to go when I need that type of food again.
And you don't waste it.
Yeah, and you don't waste it. So that vacuum sealer is the best investment. We started with like the small one, and then as I started hunting and you're trying to put not just like steaks in a bag, but like a whole from Costco, but a whole like piece of an animal, you need the bigger one. So I got like the big one too. So it works pretty well. But here we are. It's February 9th. We're halfway through February or so into 2026. I feel like the real estate industry has kind of popped up again a little bit, been getting more appointments at least, but still a little bit of stagnation in the market. Still looking for buyers. Resale world is still really hard. New construction, we talked about it before we hit record, and we might get into it again. They are doing a lot of incentives to get homes sold. And that is always like when I talk to my clients, I kind of always look towards like what are the new build. Like if I'm meeting with a seller, I'm bringing them the information that the new build is doing, especially on the west side of Jax when the market gets slow or a little bit stagnant. There's so much building and growth out there that if you're trying to sell your home in that part of town, like your competition is the builder. And when the builder's offering incentives, they have to kind of think about that. So I think the builders.
I mean, it's a double-edged sword, right? So you're getting into a house with a killer deal that's likely untouchable by any other lender except for the builder.
Yeah.
But then if something comes up and you got to sell your house in a year or two,
Yeah.
it's going to be real tough if the builder is still building because nobody wants, your incentives versus the builder's incentives are going to be night and day.
Right. And especially if you're like a VA buyer and you put 0 down, you're kind of like upside down on your house for a few years. And on top of that, so let's take it back. Let's like my life in real estate. My grandmother developed real estate properties. We had a flower shop. We did like coin laundry. We did all kinds of different things. So nobody in my family had this, like we owned a flower shop. Nobody had a 9-to-5 like job, but it was all this kind of entrepreneur type stuff and then development and real estate. Everybody sold real estate, bought real estate, had the real estate license. So it's been in my family a long time. And so I've watched, even as a kid before I started doing it, kind of watched the cycles. And in the early 2000s with like HGTV and everything, like house flipping got really quick. And then when the market was seeing that big inflation there in like 05, 06, 07, everybody's getting into flipping. And it was like, oh, if you're purchasing a house, you can sell it like next year. You can sell it next month and you can make money on it.
Yeah.
And then that bit everybody in the butt and the financial crisis happened. Everything changed. All the lending standards, everything changed. The market came all the way up. The market came down to its low point, like 2012, 2015, settled up. When I bought my first home, I knew like, hey man, in 2015, like I've got to be in this house like 5 to 7 years before I can sell it. And in fact, it was 8 years before I sold it. And so that mentality was back. Like the flip mentality was still there, but people who were actually doing it professionally.
But even stop right there though, because you made a purchase, you made an investment, knowing that it could be years before you were making a return on it. But in that 7-year time frame, you did make a decent amount of money when you sold your home.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
I think that's testament to sometimes just getting in the game.
Well, the mortgage is amortized, and by like year 5, you start to see it start to go down. And so you start to really be able to, and then plus when you add like the years of inflation to that the government's always going to print money, then you're able to sell that home. And then the COVID thing happened, and they printed billions of dollars, and they dropped the interest rate through the floor. So once again, that mentality of like own a home for a year and make $100,000 was back. And then it stopped. And when we look at the stats just came out for last year, Zillow, Homes.com, Redfin, all these reports, in Jacksonville, we saw either 0 or negative 1% growth on home prices last year. And in fact, that was 25. We saw the same thing in 24. We saw the same thing in 23. So people who bought their house in 2022, now 3 years or 2 years ago, they want to sell their house and they're trying to sell it for $50,000 more than what they bought it for. But really, their sale price is their purchase price. And again, if they used a VA or if they did some sort of refinance and rolled their closing costs into it, like they can't. And so I'm meeting with these folks and trying to have these conversations with them, and it's a really hard pill to swallow. But I think buyers and sellers, and then I think that's part of what slowed buyers down, because now they're realizing, ooh, this is a long-term thing, a long-term commitment, and not just like a 1-year commitment.
Well, when you look at it, there's two ways you can consider when you buy a house, and it's like, hey, if I'm going to go and sell it and make money on it, or maybe I do what a lot of people are doing now, and I rent it out and I move into a new home. I mean, in the mortgage world, you can offset a current payment even if you don't have a lease agreement on it. So there's like ways you can go in and say, look, we're going to look at market rent. We'll get an appraiser to come out, tell us what the market rent is, and you can use that to offset your payments. So in other words, it doesn't hurt your qualification if you do want to get another home, especially our veterans that can do 100% financing, even more than one time, even more than one VA loan at a time, which we can teach you about that. But if you're in a home and it doesn't have all the value you want it to, I mean, you want to move to a new home, rent it out.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not, you got an investment, and if you can take care of it and do a good job with that, now you're building more of like long-term wealth.
Especially
if you kind of rinse and repeat that process.
And if you're dual income, this is something, speaking of this, how did this not come up when I bought a house? Because this is how I learned this lesson. I guess we just totally overlooked it. But, I remember when I was buying my house and we were putting in our loan app, and we were using my income and my VA entitlement. And then we were over that entitlement, so it was like, we got to sell the house. But Shauna was in the military too.
And also had entitlement.
So we could have used her entitlement,
Yep.
kept the other house,
Could have.
and rented it out. It worked out because we paid off a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
But after, I was kind of like, oh, crap. And so that was a bummer. So that was an important lesson for me to learn, like, speak up and, like, tell people that you're dual military, because otherwise we don't know. And then added it to all of our systems where that's what first question I'm asking people is like, are you guys dual military? Because shortly after that, we worked with another couple who purchased a house on the husband's income, the husband's entitlement. And then we're able to purchase another one for the family, right? And we were able to use the wife's entitlement, so they didn't have to sell that house.
Yeah, the only thing that doesn't follow you is your disability rating. So if you're a married veteran couple and one receives disability benefits from the VA and one doesn't, if you're using the one that doesn't entitlement, then they're still going to pay the funding fee. But
Yeah.
it's something you should always look at. In your case, you may have bought a little bit above where you would have been able to put 100% down. You would have had a little bit down, but still would have been a good opportunity. Still a conversation you should definitely be having.
It worked out, and no complaints there. Looking at rates today, Mortgage News Daily's got them at 6.15, 5.7 for VA. What's the lowest you're seeing in the resale market world?
Yeah, I mean that's probably roughly accurate. And just for those viewers out there, whoever's watching this, rates are only as good as what it's going to cost you to get them. And see a lot of folks out there that'll say, we've got the best rates, and they're going to charge you thousands upon thousands of dollars to do that. So just make sure you're looking at the numbers. But rates have been steady, but I think people are still like, what I think in this just analysis paralysis of like, we think something's going to happen and we're going to keep waiting. We know what's going to happen. And
because it went lows for so long.
They're going to do this and they're going to do that. And there were a bunch of ideas of like 50-year mortgages being thrown out there. There are ideas of like transferring your interest rate, which to this point, none of that's really happened. They were also talking about, going in and buying a bunch of mortgage-backed securities, which could bring rates down like they did during COVID, and maybe not quite as low, but to have a positive impact to make homeownership affordable for some folks again. But looking at this, really nothing. I mean, a little bit's changed. Rates have moved a little bit, but nothing substantial.
Yeah.
So I feel like you have a lot of folks that are just going to wait themselves out.
They're
of a
definitely
good
moving
opportunity to buy a house.
in a positive direction.
Sure.
All indicators are like, hey, positive. And I think the bigger news when you look over here on the 10-year Treasury, it's at 4.2. So if the Treasury's at 4.2 this morning and the mortgage rate is at 6.1, we're inside of that 2-point spread, which we say historically is kind of where we were. And what we saw a couple years ago when we had 8% interest rates, we still had a 4 on the 10-year. So the spread had gotten wider, and this is something that affects. So this is where the Fed doesn't just control mortgage rates. It's indirectly in what the government's doing and what the stock market's doing. And so what they've worked at the last couple years is getting that spread down. So all their efforts have gone into that, so it's like, good, we've achieved that now. And so we've got a normalized spread, which is kind of important to look at, even though the mortgage rate isn't like falling. Yeah. It got close to where that 2-point spread is. So the theory is moving forward as they do things that then, all of a sudden we drove the 10-year down to 3, then the mortgage rate should follow and be in that 5 zone. But historically, like throughout the entire 2000s, the interest rate was at 6%, and everybody was rejoicing. This is the greatest interest rate we've ever seen. Only because we had that extreme drop, which really they dropped it too low, and they left it low for too long, and at the same time printed money, and there was a lot of other factors going on, caused that insane inflation, and we've just been in this like recovering mode since. And it feels like everybody's having to come to terms. I'm working with sellers who are selling their homes quickly, and I'm working with buyers who are making purchases. Yo, what's up, dude? And they're still out there, but these are people who are being realistic. These are buyers who are like, hey, man, 6% is a good interest rate. These are sellers that realize, you know what, I'm not going to walk away. I'm not just going to say, I have to walk away with $100,000 and I can't lower my price. They're actually looking at like, what are homes actually selling for in my neighborhood?
Yeah.
What incentives do I have to offer? What are the builders doing that I have to compete with? And let me position myself well there to make it happen.
Yeah, I mean, every action is going to have an equal and opposite reaction, and so if they go in and they fix something, then what issues could potentially come of it, and what people think is going to happen when rates, if they did drop.
Yeah.
What do you think is going to happen? It's going to become madness. And if any of you
The
bought a
same
home
thing's gonna
during
happen.
COVID, it was madness. People were putting in 20 and 30 offers in a week just trying to get a home,
Clinically
sight
insane.
unseen, like paying $20,000-$50,000 above asking
Inspection
price.
waived, appraisal waived.
Yeah, literally. And so what do we think is going to happen if rates today drop to 2%?
Dude,
It would be that all over again.
It'd be the same
It
thing.
would be pandemonium. So
the houses would double.
people have to understand that, like, 6% again is not a bad rate, but at the same time, you getting in the house is more important,
Yeah.
because if rates drop today, it's gonna be basically blood in the water. Everybody's gonna be coming to try to buy a house, and you're gonna have, again, COVID over, where one house has 5-10 offers on it. You go to open house and it's like
Yeah.
elbow to elbow, and just it becomes a completely different environment. And I think, if I could be a fly on the wall with the government, they're trying to prevent something like that from happening.
Yeah.
Because then the investors come in, and then again, it's COVID 2.0.
And they say a lot of things. People should kind of pick up by now, especially like the Trump administration. There's a lot of like rage baiting. And I've just learned anything they put out, and then you see, it's almost like part of their strategy is like, let's test this idea to see how people in the markets respond.
Mm-hmm.
And people lose their minds, basically. Most of the common people or the people on Facebook lose their minds. And I've learned, just like that 50-year mortgage thing, I've learned anything they say, just give it a few weeks and then see. And usually they're like, oh, you know what? We looked into that and it was a terrible idea. We're not going to
50-year mortgage is not good for
It's
people.
insane.
If you look at an amortization schedule of a 30-year, you've got a lot of interest that's front loaded. So that means it's going to be a lot in the beginning and then kind of fade down to the end when you pay it off. But if you go 50 years,
Yeah.
I mean, you're basically going to rent that loan for 10,
Yeah.
20 years. It could be really, really tough. And then again, do we get to a position where now nobody has equity in their home because nobody's paying their balances
Right.
down? And then we're kind of getting to another problem, people being able to sell their homes and how it could affect the market. So,
Yeah. So, and the last thing about the Jacksonville housing market that we're seeing, not only has it been kind of flat, feels a little bottomed out, but in December, 20% of the listings were delisted. So this means sellers gave up. Sellers, their houses were either overpriced or they weren't in good condition, and they pulled their house off the market. So that's 1 in 5, and that's like 4th overall in the nation. At the same time, there was like 19% canceled buyer purchases where buyers backed out. And a lot of times they back out because they go in and they're negotiating repairs or negotiating like closing cost credits after they found some negative things in the inspection, and the sellers aren't being realistic. So with that, you as a buyer are now positioned to where some of the trash has been thinned out. So only the realistic sellers who are like, I have to sell, I'm committed to selling, are out there. You're facing where some of the buyers have backed out, and so there's less competition from other buyers. And then you've got a pretty normalized interest rate. So now's still a really good time to go out there, because with those buyers or with those sellers who are like still committed to selling, they're probably going to be more realistic on things like closing cost incentives and repairs on the house. And so you have a good opportunity there. And so it still shows that it's a good market. Like for instance, there's a reciprocal. I think nationwide we were like top 3 hardest places to sell a home. Well, that means it's the top 3 place to buy a home, right? Because it's inverse, right? If it's the top 3 town to like sell a home, if it's hard to sell a home right now, then that means you as a buyer have a great opportunity to take advantage of that. And not that you're trying to beat sellers down or that it's this competition. It's just like that's where the market is. There's ebbs and flows. And right now, a few years back, oh man, impossible to be a buyer here. Now it's kind of shifted to where, there's a lot of opportunity.
and we said it before on here, I don't know. I know it's been a little while since we've done this, but I don't think people realize that how much of a closing costs credit and can be and what that means. I deal with people all the time that the down payment is a struggle.
Yeah.
How many people have down payment and have closing costs? And here in Florida, we have taxes when you get a mortgage, so costs are higher than they're going to be in some other states. And so if I'm like, hey, you need your down payment plus, because we're in a tougher market now because you waited 7 months, now you need your down payment of, let's say, 3 to 5%.
Yeah.
And you need another 10 to 15,000 just to pay your closing cost.
And your real estate agent doesn't work for free, and there's no law that the seller has to pay. A lot of times we're able to negotiate that in, but you legally, this is like federal law now and state law here in Florida, like you have to sign a buyer brokerage agreement where like, hey, I'm paying my agent for the work that they're doing. Regardless, we're going to try to negotiate it so that I don't pay it, but that's all part of it.
It is, and people are so concerned about interest rates. Like, oh, it could be $200 a month less if my, interest rate was lower. I'm like, well, but you want to spend $10,000,
Yeah.
which is way. I mean, you're talking about years and years of basically trying to recoup that from what you might have saved if you waited for a better interest rate. So
Right.
I don't think people understand. Like, we throw it out there like, oh, incentives are important. It's expensive to get into a home, but it doesn't have to be if you have the right agent. And you have the right lender, get you the best deal you can get closing costs covered. That saves you an absolute ton of money. When rates come down, then you can refinance. So you're literally getting the best of both worlds between getting concessions to buy your house and when the rates come down, you can take advantage of that. But if they drop to today to 2%, there's no way you're getting a single dime of incentive because sellers are going to have buyers lined about the door waiting to buy their house because now rates are 2%.
Right.
They're like, oh, my payment can be $200 less now, but I didn't care about the $15,000 I was saving. Like, make it make sense. And I think there's so much out there that negative, and I know this is going to be on social media, but there's some not great stuff on social media. So just make sure you're talking to the pros.
Yeah. So, and about that, and about taxes, let's talk about this. So we get calls all the time. Like we work with people. Obviously, we're knowledgeable. We share these videos. We share the podcast. Plus, when we talk with people, there's a whole process that we go over. And so many times, I get calls from people 2 years after they live in their house, and it's like, "Hey, man, my bill went up. What's going on?" And I'm like, it could be a number of things. It could be taxes. It could be insurance. It could be a CDD. It could be that you had an escrow shortage. Like, we got to dig a little bit deeper. You need to call your loan service provider. You need to figure out, like, who's managing your escrow, first of all. Okay, lock that in. Then we call this person. And so I'm walking these people through this. And a lot of times we find out, like, they didn't do their homestead exemption, one. Two, when they purchased their house, it was reassessed, which is normal. And now they have an escrow shortage because there wasn't enough money in the escrow to pay the taxes, because when, you sign up to buy your house, the title, you, the lender, the title company, everybody explains to them this thing. And they also give them the instructions on how to do the homestead exemption. And so, like, if you're watching this today, March 1st, it's February 9th today, so you got a couple weeks. If you bought a house in 2025, you've got 2 weeks to go online, just Google Florida homestead exemption, find the government site, and file your exemption. You got to do it with the county. It gives you all the instructions. But you're a homeowner, so there are responsibilities there. And the responsibilities are there before you purchase a home. I want to read this line in the contract.
Real quick.
Yeah.
Before we get to that, so I would put, if you're in a position where you bought a new house or you bought a home and you're having massive like tax increases that you were not aware of or never had a conversation about, in my opinion, it's going to fall on your lender. Because a lot of times, and builders will do this, builders own the mortgage company. They're going to try to make this look as sweet as possible for you.
Bro, I've seen builders put nothing in the escrow.
Meanwhile, they're only taxing you on the vacant land of your house, not on the actual structure. So they're like, hey, your tax payment's only $50 a month. This looks awesome, right? You're going to qualify and you're good to go. Meanwhile, they reassess your property and now your taxes are $7,000 a year.
Yeah.
And you're seeing your payment go up $800 a month to try to basically recover what you didn't pay in, plus trying to
what's due next year.
Exactly. So if you're going to have this conversation with your lender, there is a problem, because for a lot of folks, this could cause them to lose their home. $700, $800 shift in monthly payment is insane. There's no way you can. I mean, you could, but it's going to be a really tough fight.
Most people can't do it.
They can't. So if your lender is saying, oh, well, this is what the tax bill was, and they're not taking the time to say, look, we need to go to the property appraiser website. We need to analyze what this home is worth. It may be high. We may be overestimating, but you're also not going to get a letter in the next 6 months to a year that says your payment's going up $800.
And they're all different. Every situation is different. There's different tax codes for different counties. Did the sellers own the home for 30 years and they bought it for pennies and they barely pay taxes? That tax bill is going to show much lower than you buying the house at cost today. Or did they buy it just like 2 years ago and some life circumstances changed and they got to get out of it? Chances are, okay, it's not going to be as different because the market's been stagnant for 3 years. So it's a case-by-case thing, and you've got to have these conversations. You got to talk about it. And then right in the contract, there's a reason why. The whole contract is normal grammatical, capitals and periods and stuff. But you get to this line, and on the as-is contract here in Florida, right now it's at 236, paragraph H, property tax disclosure summary. It's in bold. It's all caps. Buyer should not rely on the seller's current property taxes as the amount of property taxes that the buyer may be obligated to pay in the year subsequent, meaning next year, to purchase. A change of ownership or property improvements triggers reassessment of the property that could result in higher property taxes. If you have any questions concerning the valuation, contact the county property appraiser's office for information. So this is on every single contract that we sign with buyers. And then 2 years later, we get a call, and they're like, I knew nothing about it. Look, it may sound like I'm being hard on you, and I am, because as a home buyer, you have a big responsibility. Like, you have responsibilities, and it starts with reading the actual purchase contract, talking to the lender, talking to your agent, and understanding all this stuff before you close on the home.
And let's talk about why they do that. Why does a lender or a builder want to make it look a little bit pretty? Well, number one is the payment. Number two is you've got to collect money in for taxes whenever you take over a home. So if you've got a seller that has been in the home for 20 years, they homesteaded it, which means that your taxes can increase more than 3% a year. So you're not going to have any massive increases. And then they come in and they say, well, the taxes were $1,500, now they're $6,000.
Yeah.
They have to collect for that, but also the proration from the seller is only going to be on what their taxes were, not on what they will be. So there's probably another possibly $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 that would have to be put into escrow to compensate for what the tax bill is going to be. And builders and other lenders don't like to say, hey, it's going to be another $5,000. You're not getting any proration from the seller. So again, they're trying to make it look pretty so that you're happy in the moment, but it's going to come back and bite you really hard on the back end.
So it's just something, and a lot of times you can purchase a home, you can purchase, and as long as you just have to know how to read this stuff, and obviously you don't, but we read it all the time, so we're happy.
It's like the Apple things, like it's an update, and you just like scroll through and hit I agree and click it.
That's what dude. Sometimes I send out a contract and it comes back in like 2 seconds, and I'm like, I know they didn't read it.
Yeah.
And the thing is, like, my position, my license, my broker license, my qualification, what I'm taught is you are not an attorney. Do not explain the contract with them. If they have questions, go to the attorney. Now, we can educate you on how the real estate industry works, but it's not even my job to take this line for line and make sure it's on you. You signed it. It was your responsibility. Yeah. And so I think that's key. And what drives me nuts, man, is like, we explain this to people till we're blue in the face. Then they call us, and we position ourselves that way. Obviously, hey, if you never need anything, call me. We invite people to our events. We stay in touch with people because that's how we do business, and that's the culture at our business, is building lifelong relationships with these people. And a lot of times, for a lot of the stuff, Hey man, we want to remodel the bathroom. Great. I'm sending my contractor over. Hey, I'm installing a hot tub. I'll send my electrician over. Like, that's what I mean.
Yep.
I'm here for you to help you. But when you call me and tell me that your escrow is thousands of dollars short and your bill went up $500 a month, and what do you do? Like, and then when I don't have a solution for you other than like, man, you have to pay it because that's your responsibility and that's what you agree to, then they turn around and get mad at me. A lot. I've seen it where I've sold people houses. I keep them plugged into all of our stuff, build a relationship with them. This happens. I can tell that they like have some sort of resentment to me, like, oh, you sold me this house and screwed me over. And then I see that their house is on the market with some other random agent that they found online, and you're like, bro, it's bull crap.
Yeah, it's the same way. I've had people like, we're going to tell you the hard, honest truth. And you may not like it, and it might make your payment to be really what it should be instead of like something that's super low. But I've had folks too, like, I'm like, hey, we've got to account for this, and if you don't, it's going to burn you. Like, well, lender over here or broker over here is telling me that my taxes only have to be $100 a month and not $500.
Yeah,
I'm going to go with them instead. And then they totally ghost you. So it's like, we're going to always do what's right by the client, but you've also got to understand you got to be smart, and that there's a lot of people out there that will just tell you what you want to hear without giving two rips about what may happen to you on the back end.
That's the worst thing about this industry, man, is like that there's just so many amateurs and so many people that are just out to make money, and then you like try to do good by your clients, and sometimes like you're right, they just ghost you because of it. And then later on, you hear about their bad experience. I mean, I had some folks over at my house last night, and they were like, hey, like, you know, in the middle of last year or beginning of last year, I don't know what time frame it was, but they literally are like, hey, call our friends and help them. And this happens all the time, so this is just one story. But, you know, I try to connect with them, and they're like, oh, we already connected with somebody, like, blah, blah, blah. And then I'm like, okay, no worries. If like things change, I get it. Give me a call. And I'm not like pressuring them or calling them, not really even thinking about it, you know?
Yeah.
Then I'm having dinner with my other friends, and they're like, oh, man, like, sorry that it didn't work out with so-and-so. They kept calling me and saying they were having all these issues. And I'm like, I sent them to Nate. There's no way they should be having issues. So I finally asked them, like, who are you guys working with? And they were like, oh, well, when you sent us his way, we already signed with someone else, and like, et cetera, et cetera. And it's like, and she's like, oh, now it makes sense. You should like listen to, hate to say told you so, but like you should talk to these people. That's why we told you.
The problem is people are prideful, and we find out that when we give them good information, then they go away from us. That a lot of times they don't come back because they're prideful. You know,
yeah, it kind of sucks.
And don't be that way. We want to help. We always want to help.
Yeah.
You know, if it's like
Well,
prodigal son and leaving and coming back, you know, we're okay with that. We're here to help however we can, but we're going to be honest with you and not feed you a line of bull to just try to get you into a house.
yeah, and not to lie, like, this is a for-profit business. Like, this is how I earn a living and how I provide for my family. And the reason that I'm able to provide well for my family is because of the experience and skill set that I have. And so it's kind of speaks for itself. And but in the meantime, like, I don't run an internet lead business. I don't buy leads. I don't cold call. I don't do that at all. It all is internal from people I know, from meeting people, direct connections, and building relationships. So the pressure is literally on, you know, to do a good job when you have that kind of business. If I ran like a turn and burn business, like some of these other companies where I was just dialing 100 numbers a day to get to 20 conversations to have one appointment and had a 75% turnover.
Very transactional.
And then I don't have to ever talk to that client again, so I don't care if I screwed them out of everything. And some agents run their business that way, and that's fine. They provide for their family that way and move on with their lives. But like, I don't like that. I don't like that one. I'd rather have people that are close to me, that trust me, that are, you know, that we become friends through the process, that they're over at my house helping me change the brakes on my truck later, that they're coming over to eat dinner at the Super Bowl, or we're going out to VIP dinners or whatever it is. I like that much better, man.
But you got to understand that. I mean, we're going to do things right, and we're going to treat folks how we'd want to be treated. You have 4 kids. I've got 6 kids.
I might have 5. I hope
Okay,
not.
well, that might be another podcast. But we're here to feed our families, man. Like, you know,
Yeah.
Us screwing somebody over to make a buck on one deal is not worth putting our
No.
families at risk. So I mean, you want people that are, dads in this industry and work for their families and are going to treat you the same. I bet you could go to every one of my clients. I'm like, I really enjoyed our conversations. You feel like friends afterwards, and it's not all about that, but I think that's a testament to how you treat folks,
Dude,
and how you run your business.
I love when I'm sitting here at this table, like getting work done, and somebody comes through that door, somebody I sold a house to, and they're like, bro, I was just eating lunch around the corner. I wanted to stop in and say hi.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, and that's, I feel good. It's part of our culture too. Just like, I mean, all the things we're involved in outside of this business, whether it's at church or with like different, like I recently jumped on the NEFAR council for the beaches. So like you're held to a higher standard, and and that becomes a part of your identity and your culture. And so it just spills over into your business. And I teach agents this all the time, where like, I'm like, look, man, I'm going to teach you, like the agents that I bring on at the brokerage, I want to teach you intentional living. It's not fraudulent, it's not fake, but I want to make you a better person. The business is like, you have to make money to pay your bills and provide for your family, but the business is almost the byproduct of you just being intentional with folks and making sure you're right. So, I mean, that's kind of it. We're probably running out of time. We'll wrap it up here, but a lot of things going on. Just a quick recap. The market's been kind of stagnant in Jacksonville for a while, and as a result, a lot of buyers and sellers have pulled out. So whether you're a seller or a buyer, if you're realistic, if you've got your home in great condition and you want to sit with an expert and get it priced right, there's buyers who are serious buyers in the market. So we've kind of weeded out this, like, let me test the market, let me see what goes on, and entered into the serious thing. Tax thing coming up, March 1st is your deadline. I think we beat that one up, and the fact that you have responsibilities as a homeowner.
Yeah, you do. I'll give one final thought. Building your business is important, but I just see so much of people trying to build their business by stepping on somebody else, and by that I mean, our industry is highly competitive.
Yeah.
I don't know there's much more of a competitive industry you could probably get into than real estate and mortgages.
Right.
But I think for us, we're going to do it with a sense of character and doing it the right way. We're not going to build our business bashing somebody else.
Yeah.
I see so much of it online. Some people that are putting all these ads out, say they want to help everybody and do this and that. Behind the scenes, they are terrible to their employees. They are not nice to the people that they work with, and and then to the public, to the face, they're like, "Oh, I'm the greatest thing ever," and I love to help these people and all these things. And maybe you do that sometimes, but you're also bashing other people. I think that's a bad look. Something that I'd never want to do on here. Yes, there are differences between lenders. There are differences between agents. We're going to point out why we're better without saying this person or this company, whatever, is bad, and I'm going to bash them and build my business stepping on somebody else. We'll never do that. So for those of you out there in this business, I know it's competitive, but do it the right way.
Dude.
Stop being a jerk on social media and calling people out. And we're all out here trying to hustle and do things the right way. So
you know what, man? When I was purchasing, I used to ride Harley Davidsons, and the reason I rode Harley Davidsons, man, was like, I started out on a Honda, which was fine, kind of like my entry bike, but I really wanted a Harley. And I'm somebody that does a ton of research and wondering, like, do I want a Harley because it's really the best, or do I want a Harley just because it is like the name or whatever? Mm-hmm. And you hear that a lot. Oh, you're just paying for the name. You should go get a Victory. You should get an Indy, whatever it is. And so I started getting into like tons of videos and review videos. And the thing I picked up, so I call this the Harley Davidson model, and run it in my business. Just exactly what you just said. But basically, like, every other company, when they would put out, this is our bike, unlike a Harley, we've got this updated, like, we don't use a chain like a Harley. We use this belt. And all they did was talk about Harley and comparing themselves to it and why we're better. And then even, like, individual reviews, it sounds good, like, it's different than the Harley. If I watch a video from Harley Davidson or about Harley Davidson, they don't even know that the competition exists. I've never once heard the utterance of any other brand out of their name. And for me, that solidified it where I was like, bro, that's the company for me that I want to represent, that I want to buy into, that I want. Like, that's everything that I want. So that culture, that's exactly what you were just talking about. Why don't you run your real estate business just like Harley Davidson, where you just focus on everything that you do? You don't, and they don't go out and create stuff like when the other brand puts a new, like their bikes. Sure, they might be building the same bike that they've been building since 1930 or 50, exactly the same way, but it's proven and it works. And so like they niche down on it and just focus on being good at that.
And I would hate for like any of my clients in my 14 years in this industry to come back and be like, oh man, he's actually a totally different person than who I met. And he's actually kind of a piece of crap, but he makes it look so good on social media like he's great. I would hate for somebody to think that about me. Like I said, most of the people we work with become our friends and that sort of thing. But you never want to build a business stepping on somebody else. And I would want somebody to say I'm the same behind closed doors that I am, in front of you.
And I think that's a benefit of these conversations. It goes out on the podcast, it goes out into like social media clips or whatever, but it's sharing. Obviously, we can't be in all places at all times or with all people at all times, and it gives people a look into that, because so much of my content is curated, strategic, like real estate posting. Like, it's polished and it looks good. And I think people want that. The influencer world got so heavy that now there's a little bit of rejection on it. And like, I'm not trying to be a influencer. I just want to like share what I do. And like, this is the right platform for like, let me just let you insights. Kind of why we changed the format even up today, starting from here, kind of call this season 4 or whatever it is. But it's like, our last one's like, we kind of talked about it, and I was like, man, I just feel like we're too scripted, like we're too like salesy. That's why I'm like having a conversation with you versus looking at the camera and trying to talk to like the third wall or whatever it is, right? The fourth wall. And so,
it's one of the walls. Yeah,
man, dude. Well, it was great having this conversation. I know we try to get them at least once a month in here, and do your taxes, do your research, and if you want to get into real estate in Jacksonville, then the market is relaxed enough that you can do it, and you should be able to do it confidently and comfortably.
Yeah, if you want to kick the tires, just give us a shout. We're not going to lead you in the wrong direction. We really want to help you. Yeah, man.